Hi everyone, my name is Akash Mehra and I'm a senior machine learning engineer in the language intelligence team at Apple, and I'll be briefly going over our paper, GANs for Continuous Path Keyword Input Modeling. This work is done in collaboration with my colleagues mentioned over here. Before we get into the details about our paper, let's take a brief look at QuickPath. QuickPath allows users to slide their finger from one letter to the next to enter a word without removing their finger from the keyboard. This mode of input is preferred by some users to input text faster than typing. Recognition of the intended word relies on robust pattern matching enhanced with a statistical language model in order to predict the intended word. Having looked at the problem, let's look at how we intend to solve it using a robust recognition model. The recognition model is based on a recurrent neural network, and as we know, these models require a large amount of data to be trained effectively. In our case, these are annotated corpus of paths. Data collection is one way to give this model large amount of data, but the cost involved to get large quantities of data is very prohibitive. Not to mention, data collection is a time-consuming process. And no matter how extensive the data collection process is, we still won't be able to cover everything. This motivates the need for synthesizing data to augment the dataset that we've collected, as adding more data helps reduce the error rate. We could augment by adding more and diverse amount of data. Before we jump into talking about the GAN architecture, let's briefly look into how we synthesize rule-based data. We synthesize path segments by sampling start and endpoints from a Gaussian distribution around the keys and join them using a spline function. Let's take a look at the output produced by the rule-based path synthesis algorithm. On the left, we have the path for the word anybody as input by the user, and to our right, we have the same word generated using our rule-based synthesis algorithm. As we can see from the figure that the synthesized example looks a lot smoother and is almost perfect when it comes to how a path looks. But a user path is far from perfect. It varies based on different factors, which end up injecting artifacts like overshoot, undershoot, etc. in the user paths. And when a model is trained on synthetic paths, as shown in the figure, we don't get a robust model. In fact, we get quite the opposite. The synthetic paths are also intrinsically restricted in their expressiveness and do not fully capture the variability present in the user paths. Based on the motivation from the previous slide, we looked into style transfer as one possible way for us to generate large amounts of diverse data for augmentation. Style transfer has been an active area of research in computer vision, and there is a large body of work on image style transfer. In style transfer, the generator is biased according to the desired style of image. To augment the training corpus, we propose using a GAN to generate user-like synthetic data. We feed the rule-based path to the generator and get a synthetic and get a user-like synthetic path as an output. Let's take a look at the architecture now. The goal of this GAN architecture is to transform a rule-based synthetic path into user-like synthetic path. Entire path gets fed into a stack of bidirectional LSTM that allows the generative model to suitably shift each point so as to make the whole path more congruent to the one generated by the user. The discriminator decides whether the path is user generated or not. But just taking a discrete signal from the discriminator does not allow the generator to generate valid words for the language. To accomplish this, we added another head to the objective and used a stacked bidirectional LSTM and CTC-based recognizer as an added constraint. This recognizer was trained separately as the whole system wouldn't converge when trained jointly given the size of our dataset. Now we were generating valid words, but we were still lacking the user style in the output. So we added an extra constraint based on the reconstruction of the path and trained the generator in the multitask fashion. Let's go back to visualizing paths again. On the left, we again have the word anybody as input by the user. And to our right, we have the path as generated by the generator. When trained in the fashion we just talked about, the generator is able to capture the artifacts that are present in the user paths as highlighted by the red circles in the image on the right. Let's look at some more examples. These are all paths generated by our generator. And if we pay attention to these circles, then we notice that they are mostly user-like artifacts. But sometimes the GAN introduces artifacts like the ones shown in the image for the word allotment and habitable. But empirically, we see that the presence of such artifacts only makes the recognition model more robust. Now that we looked into the visualizations, let's talk about some experimental results some experiments that we conducted and the results that we obtained. A few quick notes about the datasets. The training data has a vocabulary of 55,000 English words, and the test corpus comprises of 60,000 parts, covering 24,000 words in English vocabulary. No language model is used. The results in this table are roughly grouped by the size of the dataset used to train the model. When the dataset size is 1 million and the user synthetic and GAN data are used independently, then we see that the user data outperforms the other two variants. When we train the 2 million variants, then we observe that the combination of U1 and G1 is able to attain maximum accuracy. We then move to a 3 million variant and observe that U2 and G1 combination is the best among the group. We then keep adding more and more GAN data. And as seen from the last row, adding 5x GAN data still keeps improving accuracy. Here's a log-log plot comparing the effects of user only and user plus GAN data on accuracy. From the log-log plot, it is evident that adding more and more user training data improves accuracy. Augmenting it with GAN-generated data further benefits the model. We do see the slope of the curve decreasing towards the end, but it's still not flat, which tells us that we can improve the model further by adding diverse GAN data. And this aligns really well with our motivation from slide 3. Here's what we can conclude from our approach and the observed results. Multitask adversarial architecture can be trained to generate user synthetic paths. Augmenting user data with GAN data helps ship the quick path solution because it increases vocabulary coverage, improves path diversity, and significantly boosts the accuracy of the recognition model. That's it. Thank you for your time and watching our talk.